Welcome to the Fantasy Thinker. I'm Jared Quartermanch. Today we are going to be doing my June 2024 updates. So let's get into it. What did I read in May? I finished off Dust of Dreams by Steven Erikson. So good. So good. I did a discussion with my friend Vasher on my channel about this awesome tome, and my reread. This is a reread and one of the greatest stories ever, if not the greatest story ever. So there's enough said about that. I mean, I love the Malazan world. I love all the books involved with it, and Dust of Dreams being the ninth book in the Malazan Book of the Fallen, um, is the penultimate book leading to the finale. So it was really eye opening and really great on a reread because I just realized there's so much more going on than what I got out of it the first time, especially since the first time I read it, I kind of was a little taken aback at some of the tragic stuff that happens in the story. But on the reread, I was self conflating those tragedies and overlooking all the beauty and the hope and the comedy and everything else that was going on in this book. And so, a fantastic, fantastic read. What else did I finish off in May? I also finished off this sci fi masterwork by Cordwainer Smith, The Rediscovery of Man. This book was very strange. um, it was it was out there. This is if you want something unique and strange, some good theme work in here. Some really really interesting stuff. Some stuff that some big ideas that speak to the state of mankind and do we really want a utopia and um, is that what's actually good for society? Hint, it's not. But this is the stuff he explores in here. But man, he has some crazy ideas and he has some crazy writing. It's really strange and it's really unique. I can't really say I enjoyed the whole thing. There were parts of it I enjoyed. So this book was okay. But you'll see. You be stay tuned for my discussion on this with all my friends who are doing the sci-fi masterwork discussion read along. All right, I also finished Embassy Town by China Mieville. This was a really good book, really well put together. I did a review on it. Please check that out on my channel. And overall, very glad I read this book. I didn't like it quite as much as Perdido Street Station, but still, I thought it was a very, very solid read and very, very well done. Definitely check out Embassy Town. I also finished, oh yeah, this book here, Child of God by Cormac McCarthy. I finished this for a discussion coming up later on in the month on page chewing, and I gotta say, I'm not a big fan of this book. Um, I just, I don't know, I had a hard time getting into it. I didn't like the characters. Um, it was well done. It was well written. It was fast paced. It was I went through it in like 3 days time. So it's not a difficult read as far as the prose goes, and it was and that's on purpose. The author definitely is very talented, knows what he's doing, structures wise and prose wise. He knows he's definitely a great writer. But this book just wasn't for me. Um, and so we'll talk about that later. But I did finish that. I also finished Child of Prophecy, which is a short story by Janie Wirtz in her Wars of Light and Shadow series. Takes place, I think, about 500 years prior to the main series story, and takes place during the advent of the coming of the Mistwraith. And so it was really cool to see that era, and to see just a few things that really tied into the main series. And so, if you are a fan of that series, if you're reading that series and you haven't checked out the short stories of Janie Wirtz, you would do yourself a favor and check them out. I plan on reading one a month until I'm all caught up with those. All right. And so that was all the books I finished. But what else am I reading? I'm also reading, of course, short stories. So, what did I read for short stories? Let's see here. I read another story out of Tales Before Tolkien. And what was the story that I read this time? Yes. Oh, yeah. This was interesting. This story is called "The Demon Pope" by Richard Garnett, and this was published in 1888. So from way back then, and basically, it's the devil trying to trick himself into getting um, Lucifer, actually, into trying to trick the Pope and cardinals into getting him elected as Pope. And so, and it's kind of interesting how it worked out. It was a really fun story, um, and I really liked it. It was short and just really uh, interesting and fun how that worked out. And I really enjoyed it a lot. I read a another Chinese folk tale out of Chinese myths and folk tales. This lovely Barnes and Noble edition, and this was just a little tiny folk tale about planting a pear tree, and kind of the consequences of greed, and what it does to you. And it's about a Taoist monk um, who teaches a lesson to a greedy merchant. And so that was a very little interesting little short story there. Another short story that I'm reading, I read another short story out of Swords and Dark Magic, the new sword and sorcery. This story was an Elric story by Michael Moorcock called Red Pearls. And it's been a while since I read a good old Elric's tale, and this one lived up to Moorcock's usual um, panache for sword and sorcery style storytelling, and it really packed a punch, and I enjoyed it a lot. So kudos to Moorcock for keeping Elric interesting and fun to read. I finished that one. I'm also still reading stories out of the big book of science fiction. I'm reading one of those a week on the podcast Speculative Speculations. So be sure to check out those podcasts. And basically, we're going through that book it's in chronological order, the stories that appear in there. So we're reading stories from way back. I think we're up to 1936 or something like that right now. And so that has been a lot of fun. So that's everything I read in May. Now we shall move on to what I'm reading right now. And I am continuing on in my Malazan journey, um, hopping into the Cripple God Book 10. Yeah, this is it. This is the big one. This is the one that by the end of it, I had to break out a box of tissues. So we'll see if that happens again on my reread. All right. Uh, I am also reading, of course, Peril's Gate, book, book 6 in the Wars of Light and Shadow, and this is the third book in the Alliance of Light story arc. And this has been outstanding. We're doing discussions every 2 weeks on about 3 chapters at a time. on page viewing, and once again, can't say enough about Jenny Wirtz's writing. It's just fantastic, and that story is really ramping up and getting. It's so tense, it's so intense. Yeah. All right. What else am I reading? I am also reading for the weekly podcast, Speculative Speculations, once again, um, Adrian Tchaikovsky's Children of Time. And I have been pleasantly surprised by how much I am enjoying this book. It's actually a quick read. It's a lot of fun. I think I'm actually liking this more than I did the Southern Reach trilogy, and I like that a lot. So this has really been a blast to read. Children of Time, about halfway through that now, and I am also reading Lord and King by our friend P.L. Stewart, and this is my finally getting back to independent published, self-published fantasy, and I'm enjoying Lord of King. I just finished part one in the book. It's like I think three parts or something like that, and so I just finished that, and hopefully I'll be getting further along in that book, and yeah, enjoying it. I love PL's writing. I love his point of view, single first person point of view character, and even though you'll love to hate him too, so it's really cool how he does that, and it's a lot of fun reading that. All right, and so that's what I'm reading right now. What am I also going to be reading in the upcoming month soon? I'll be reading Last and First Men for the next sci-fi masterwork read along by Olaf Stapledon. And so I have no idea what that book's about. We'll see. Um, and I'm also going to be reading Saga of the Swamp Thing by Alan Moore and various artists, Steve Bissett and John Tolman. So that's going to take me back. I read this once a long time ago, 20, 25 years, something like that. But now I'll be reading this as part of the comics podcast on page viewing. And so I'm looking forward to that as well. And so those are the things that are coming up. I also just as a little mini book haul here, I received in the mail Janie Wirtz's Song of the Mysteries. This is book 11, but I just wanted to show this off. It's such a beautiful cover. I mean, just look at that. Ooh, man. Yeah, that's just fantastic. Yeah. Got that in the mail. Of course, won't be getting to that for until I get caught up. And also this month, I'm going to be having a discussion with some great folks, including Philip Chase and the great folks from Book uh, StoryTube. And I'm hoping, I'm hoping, I think maybe Angela from Do Unicorns Read and Philip Chase from, of course, The Best of Fantasy. I'm going to have a discussion on the book that broke the world, which was my favorite read from probably last month. But so that's upcoming, and I'm really looking forward to that. So what else is going on? I think that's everything. All right. So that is my monthly update, and let me know what you're reading too. All right. Be good to each other, and thank you.